Okay.
Just 210?
Two.
No, two.
2, okay.
Yeah,
When you're ready.
yeah. Okay, we're ready.
Hi there.
Like to call to order again, to come out of recess, actually, at the special budget meeting. And we will next hear from John Melvin, our facilities director, and I'll have you introduce your compatriot and your staff.
Good morning. Yeah, again, John Melvin, Director of Facilities, or actually, good afternoon. I'm used to commissioner sessions.
Good afternoon, John.
With me is Randy Ormeroyd, our maintenance coordinator. He's the guru of all maintenance, and actually the one that actually puts together our capital projects list. So
Thank you, Randy.
absolutely invited him to help come along today. So I did prepare a little PowerPoint, just some talking points mainly.
Okay, thank you, Randy.
So, again, just going over, mainly focusing on our capital budget. Our basic operations budgets between the lands and buildings, which are facilities maintenance, and our service center and county garage. Try to hold that as close, to, straight line budgets. Obviously, with the service center, the biggest impact is fuel prices. So we saw that huge increase this year. I did check this morning, diesel prices are actually dropping this week. So they spiked at last week on the state index price at it was over $5.40 a gallon. And it's dropped to like $4.60 today. So hopefully it trends that way. So I budgeted like $4.50 a gallon for diesel.
Well, you're more optimistic than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's trending that way over the last week. The last 7 days has been trending down. So, just to go over our capital projects, and actually just a recap from this year, what we accomplished, and maybe again highlight that we come with a priority list of projects that we anticipate doing in order, but it's a living document. That's not a set list that we're going to do. These are the projects that were on the list that we accomplished this year. The new copper roof on the historic courthouse cupola. We did, some maintenance on the exterior door jails, the security doors. We had quality masonry come in. They were rusting at the bottom, and they fixed that. Several carpet projects in the Hayes building, ground floor juvenile court. We replaced the carpets, as well as finished the second floor and the third floor. We did some parking, driveway and parking improvements at Station 9, EMS Station 9. They've got some really bad running, and that will carry over into this year. We need to replace the whole driveway out there. Willis Building, we finished some darkroom improvements. They added a second processor at the beginning of last year, or at the beginning of this year, it was almost a carryover from last year. And we added the retaining wall out here around the mechanical fence, help improve the looks of that. That worked out well. As well, we replaced a roof there at Station 9. And again, being kind of a living document, these are projects that weren't necessarily on our list that we accomplished this year. Smaller projects, again, while they're doing the door maintenance, we replaced some of the exterior door hardware. Got some, Sands Decker's cost for the 22nd Street demo. The Hayes Building security cameras, we replaced a lot of old analog cameras in juvenile court this year, so it was a substantial project and increase in their security. So, various projects like that we actually also accomplished this year. So looking forward for our 2023 project, I know as Tracy pointed out, probably our biggest project is on our books is going to be the roof replacement for the Hayes Building. It's kind of a twofold thing. It's over 20 years old. It's approaching the end of life, and we're also having issues with heating and cooling in the building. So we've taken away a lot of the heat load when you do the upgrades from fluorescent lights to LED. The energy savings, pays off an electrical bill, but it actually reduces the heat load generated in the building. And when they design that building, they take into account that heat load generating heat in the building. So in the winter times when you're heating it, you now have to produce more heat through the HVAC system that you've reduced by saving energy, and we're going with more efficient lighting. So, as well, some of the other projects, again, mentioned Station 9, replacing the driveway out there. We added some concrete aprons at their building this year and did some patching, but it really has deteriorated to the point that we need to replace the whole driveway. The new fence in the Northland and the Hayes parking lot. Those arborvitaes are overgrown, so we want to pull those out, put something more appropriate in there. Again, as mentioned previously with the wayfinding, Marissa and I were working on with some sign companies looking, and we got some proposals in, so it's getting closer. Parking, we have a couple parking lots we need to seal and restripe. There's a couple buildings you see on here, again, like the Wolf Building. We'll evaluate that towards the end of the year when we won't do anything with those buildings that potentially we will be taking off our inventory before we do the spends. But we want to make sure we track the potential expenses. If for some reasons those buildings would not be sold or, come off our inventory.
Sure.
So that's really our top 15 list. And this was provided in the handout that I think Karen had provided in the budget books, our list. So. And, just more projects at the bottom of the list. Sometimes these projects will get bumped up. A good example, at the top of our list, the carryover from this year, the jail chiller. We tried to do at the beginning of the year, some maintenance on it. We made some fixes, but it really was determined it's at the end of life. So we had to order that to get it, on order, avoid price increases, and get it scheduled. It probably won't be done until May. It's scheduled to come on site and be done in May before we really need it. So, happy to answer, just a bunch of little questions there. Happy to answer any questions on our project list, if you have any. And, just the recap of by object code of what we have in the budget. Again, we won't get through all these projects. That's all the projects on the list, the 1.8. We'll do our best to get through half of them probably, if that. So they'll carry over, and as Randy always tries to repair a 5-year list of projects so that it's an ongoing maintenance list, and hopefully nothing's a surprise unless it's an emergency comes up. So I just, again, give you just some project updates from the capital projects. Obviously our biggest one out at Bixby. Just do a little brief update here. The overall site work they have moved mountains of dirt and topsoil out there. They have all the parking lots graded up to sub-base grade. Engineer's office with their subcontractor came in, got majority of the RCC, the roller compact concrete for the heavy duty paving, put in behind the building. Inside the building, the biggest thing, and you'll notice there the new windows are in, and actually the glass is in. So those little scuttles are gone, and now we have a lot of natural light coming into the building. And again, they're working through that project in phases. Area A, drywall's hung. They actually started priming this week and hanging ceiling grid. Anticipation they need to start hanging lights, permanent lights, and diffusers and stuff in the Area A, which is that wing. They're finishing up mechanicals in Area B and drywall. They'll be moving right into that. And most all the walls are up, most of the drywall's up in the existing building. Mechanicals are moving along. Timeline on this building, they're still running on time, on schedule, but our biggest holdup will be the electrical switchgear, as we've talked about. They anticipate on schedule, they'll be done actually with the interior work in April, but we won't have the main switchgear until May. So they'll finish up their interior work on the existing building. We'll actually do a punch list and then have them the opportunity to go through and do all the patches, what we call the punch list, any deficits we find. And then we'll actually be able to start installing furniture. Main switchgear gets here in May. 4 to 6 weeks to get that installed, switched over, and inspected for final. So we're anticipating completion in June to where we can start moving in. June, July timeframe for the existing building. Building, sure.
June of 2023.
2023.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Less than a year. We got less than a year. We're not talking years out. So, the sheriff's building, we call that Building C. You can see the steel's going up, the superstructure. They're actually starting to do some of the exterior walls.
Has the sheriff been out kind of checking?
He's driven by it. I know he's taken a couple of his staff. I had to tell with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're excited now.
That.
They see it coming out of the ground. They're confident it's happening finally. So,
John, I have a question. I'm
Sure.
not suggest this because you should spend any more money, but the Career Center, the exterior of that building, is there any appearance improvements that included in the bid? Because it looks pretty stained,
Yes.
for lack of a better word.
Yes, and I'm actually, I don't want to misspeak. Let me check the exterior finishes. I believe we paint the brick, but let me double check. Yeah, there'll be
Okay. So
definitely some cosmetic experience improvements to exterior. You know, I think just, oops, jumping ahead of myself. Just getting rid of those portholes and adding the windows really helps that one wing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
landscape improvements, they'll be doing new beds there at the entrances, and we're working with the master gardeners to actually do the final plantings in those beds, so.
That's great.
Been working with the master gardeners on some of some of these buildings, they maintain the beds for us, so, we're continuing that relationship up
Great.
there as well. Building D is the truck storage building, the pre-engineered metal building. Actually, the building, I believe, is in Columbus, the steel is. So they are working on foundations, getting the big foundations in place this week, and they'll start erecting the building here in the forthcoming weeks. So that building will start going up, start taking shape as well. And I know the fuel tanks for the new fuel islands actually have been manufactured. We're kind of holding them off till they get those foundations in place so we can set them in place. So project's moving along. Let me jump back to the sheriff's building. Schedule-wise, they're a little behind because of the steel erector. So they've been on them pretty hard to catch up. So they're confident they can make recovery schedule on that. It's a matter of weeks, and there's plenty of time to recover.
is the goal for them to open at the same time, or is that?
No, the anticipated schedule for the sheriff's building, they'll be completed in July and then do punch out and stuff. So we'll, end of July, August,
So 69 days behind?
yeah, August probably move-in date for them. So, moving on, other current project is the 117 courthouse build out and renovation there for the 5th District Judge and Domestic Relations. They actually started in earnest last week with the demo. They're pretty much completed with the demo. A couple of pictures here on the right. Right there is the 5th District space down there on the 300 level, and the one bottom left is up there on the 400 level. They've opened that up and done some, started the demo for the domestic relations build out. Running on schedule for them, again, there's a lot of long lead times that's just stretching the schedule out. Door hardware is anticipated March, I think is when they anticipate getting the door hardware in. So they're looking at a early May completion on this. Still, and we're working with them because we have some attic stock. We actually have some attic stock for like floor tiles that we've been able to get them to utilize. So we'll have some credits for that. And we also have some door hardware that we hopefully can get them to finish the 300 level ahead of the 400 level, and so we can get the 5th District Judge moved over there sooner than that. So it's going well, working well with 2K on that project. The other projects ongoing, 22 Court Street demo. We did bid that out end of last week, or I did receive one bid. It is a little bit over the estimate, but is within the 10%, and we'll do a scope review on that and see how that goes. I know it was brought up the Wills Building renovations. M&A completed the schematic design, but given the scope of this has grown to, we want to issue an RFQ to select the architect firm to finish the design and build on this. So preparing that RFQ, we'll get this out here real short to go through the selection process for the architect. We'll open it up to any architect that wants to submit on this. So we do that RFQ, we get them going back online 1st of next year. Not a complicated design, it's probably 6 months to finish design, get it bid out. So end of next year, we'll work with the Board of Elections around election times too, where they can still utilize that space until we start construction and
Yeah,
not.
we all had input into that, where the input that we provided, is that the way it's gonna look? We talked about an inside door rather than,
Yes,
okay.
yep, and we'll bring back, again, they've just completed schematic that design, so we'll have detailed design we'll review with you again too as well, before it moves forward, the construction documents. So they'll be cut. And I've done just a rough estimate personally, so we get detailed design, we'll get a final estimate on that, get a better price on better idea on the total budget for that project.
It shouldn't be too bad.
We want to throw in the parking lot, the lighting, and the amount of work in there. I'm still thinking it's going to be between $5 and $7 million.
I was talking about the inside.
Yeah. So there's a lot of mechanical, especially on the big lot side, that probably at end of life will need to replace. And so they haven't gotten into that design yet too, so that's still up for decision to look at the best, most economical way to handle those
And we did get
areas.
our final check on all the lots, or they?
Oh yeah, they've closed out and everything's settled with them. So, and just a quick update on the social services building. You know, we had Gilbane do a detailed estimate off of their schematic design. So we've gone back, we had a meeting with both Gilbane and M&A, and they're going back to look at ways that we can make major cost reductions in this building, hopefully get it back on track. So I haven't got any updates from them since we last met, but we're looking at redesigning the shape and everything, trying to get a lot more efficient in that building. So I'm waiting for those results to come back in. So.
When's Court Street gonna come down then, do you think?
Like I say, I'm going to do the scope review with them next week. We get a contract awarded in December, probably in January. I still got to submit the building permit, and so, given the weather and time frame, here, we'll get it down as soon as we can.
Boy, you're busy. That's-
So, that's a quick run through. Any questions?
How about property sales? You know, the Wolf Building.
The Wolf Building, yeah, once.
Probably still a little early, but not too far off.
I haven't started anything on that or working with anybody on that. We've been looking at kind of related issue with DD and their building, so, and the social services building, so trying to get all that worked out. Yeah, actually, the other thing maybe touch on too, another project, we contracted DLZs doing a little space study for us, looking at the Carnegie building, the space needs in that building, as well as the Hayes building. And taking a look at the Carnegie building, 109, and the Hayes building, as far as space needs with all the offices in there. So thinking about when regional planning moves out, maybe that would be an opportunity to help with the space needs in the Carnegie building with EMS, 911, the sheriff's office in that building. And then the Hayes building, if we do move forward with the social services, looking at those needs. I know working with the prosecutor's office, trying to reconfigure
good.
cubicles to maximize their space. So I know they're in need of space, and their auditor, treasurer's all growing, so.
But those are projects to be the 2024 budget.
Yes, yes.
probably.
No, it'd be something that would be continuation, like from the completion of the Bixby project, and if the social services project moves forward, and that, in those timeframes.
The Wolf Building, we ought to be able to sell right away.
Yeah,
There's no reason to hang on to that building. And that's a chunk of the funding for the Bixby campus too. I mean, you know, we'll take the proceeds from that.
put it towards it, if we end up issuing debt for that, put it towards.
Channing is another issue because we're working with Homeport.
Yeah, last I had heard, I'm not directly in those loops, they were working on submitting for funding for the Channing Street Homeport.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
so I think another round is coming out in February, so.
We should know by May, June timeframe.
Oh,
But
okay.
Hopefully-
Service station too, though, John.
Yeah, we have somebody looking at that, so, I'll-
Looking at what, Channing?
Yeah.
the service center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the prosecutor too, and I know when she was here, she mentioned that they really needed, they need a redo on their
Mhm.
office, and then to expand the office
Yeah.
too.
So,
So-
and that's why we'll have DLZ, again, it's, we'll look at it twofold, you know, that'd be
Mhm.
part of the social services complex. If JFS was to move out, if that project moves forward, they move out, what would then backfill their space in the Hayes building? There is a
Mhm.
need, we'll see how much of that, you know, would be
Well, until we see
Okay.
some sort of financial plan that makes it,
sense on that one.
then everything else is kind of on hold.
Yeah, everything's kind of in limbo contingent on that, so if, we're moving forward with the space study, and then concurrently, and then hopefully we'll be able to figure out which direction we're going with those. Just another Bixby update, we selected King Business Interiors for the furniture package for the Bixby campus, and it's been about 4 days over the last 2 weeks with meetings with all the offices out there, going back over their furniture layouts. M&A did initial layout of furniture for the building, and we bid it out to a select 4 vendors. And then King was the best value, going through cooperative purchasing and state contracts. So we went back through and revisited with all the offices, since it's been 2 years since we met with them and talked the furniture layouts in there. Minor adjustments, it went really well, so King will be finalizing those because we need to get a purchase order and order in before the end of the year because there's price increases January 1. So we've also been working with all the other offices, the list of FF&E, the fixtures, furniture, and equipment for the building. So getting those numbers finalized for Tracy and Karen, so take that into consideration too as well.
And with Bixby, did you say that as far as our ability to move the offices there might be
Looking
July?
June, July, August, it'll be,
okay.
obviously the size of these offices will stagger it. And
Sure.
with the Career Center, they'll be the first one done. We'll start moving offices in there.
That'll be the first
Hopefully
one.
the June, July, and then go into the sheriff's office.
Okay, great.
All continues as forward as it's been going. Gilbane's been doing a wonderful job out there, managing the project. I'm really pleased with their work and working with them and M&A on that project, so.
Something you've done in the past years, so you won't be surprised when I say this, on your capital projects, we've asked you in the past kind of ABC. Are they in the order in which you would do
Yep,
them?
we have a priority list on here.
That's the order in which
That's
you
the
would do
order.
them?
It's
So-
subject to change, obviously, like the jail chiller, we had problems with it, so it got bumped up. But yeah, we work in a priority list.
So
but
if we
it's-
drew a line anywhere in there, what theoretically, the ones below it would be the ones that you could wait on.
Yep, and we might flip some. If you draw a line, we
I
might flip
understand.
some up and down. Yep.
And you can talk about operations, or is this?
I just briefly touched it. We kept a pretty flat line. I
I'm
guess,
gonna make a comment. I read that, and you talked about having to add custodians out there, but you're gonna eliminate custodians at Channing and Wolf Building. And I realize you said you maybe go to employees rather than contractors, but I would hope you're gonna justify that it's the same cost or less to make that justification. But there should be some savings. It shouldn't be, all new cost.
we're adding a significant larger amount of square feet than we're getting rid of. So we're growing quite a bit with the Bixby opening up. We contract out those 2 offices and we get minimal custodial service for those, in those areas. And those are the areas, the contracted areas, the ones we get complaints
Well, I'd
about.
like to see
So,
the current costs that we're incurring and what you think the costs are gonna be out there,
Sure.
just so I can visually make a comparison.
absolutely. Like I say, we didn't include it in the budget, because.
Oh, it's not in the budget?
Yeah, those
Okay.
positions are not in our budget. So when we go to move out to Bixby, we'll have to make adjustments and make justifications for it then.
Okay.
Any other questions? Randy, if,
Like to add anything?
anything that you'd like to add?
No,
Thank
it's,
you for all
it's
the
been a
work.
busy year and, a busy next year as well, so, as John said, we've had to, and we work with, Karen, let her know that if things change as far as a priority, that's the reason, we do the, 3 to 5 year, so that, you guys see, what I'm looking at, and, if the priority changes, we let you guys know, so.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll also drop a note here at this time that next year will probably be Randy's last budget. So he has announced his retirement date of February 29th of '24, so I got one more year.
Ship February 29th, it must be a leap year then.
Yep,
24, yeah.
of '24.
I understand
Yep, a
that.
leap year.
Yep.
Heads up.
Heads up, thank you. Gee, I must calculate that in my plan.
You got me for one more budget.
Yep, I got him for one more.
Unless you change your mind.
So, no, I'm still gonna hold my seat as a trustee, though. So,
I was gonna ask that question, but I didn't know if it was appropriate to ask it this setting.
no, that's fine, so.
Okay,
Okay.
well, thank you so much. Really appreciate all the hard work. Oh, my gosh. So much going on, John. Thank
Yep,
you,
Thank you.
both. It's great. You're doing a great job. Okay. Let's see, we have just a couple.
Just to recess, or?
That's a good idea.
All right.
We'll recess for 10 minutes until 25.